are you feeling today? So excited to chat with you this week. So much has been happening, so many exciting things, so many new things, so many opportunities and blessings and doors have been opened. And I am just so excited for what the future holds. But you know what? Also, what this week has taught me is celebrating all the wins, right? The life that you once prayed for, you're living, right? And so don't miss out on the blessings being so fixated on what hasn't happened yet within the future, but also recognize that once upon a time this was your future. Your present was your dreamed about future, and take the moment to recognize that. So let's hop into the way we start these episodes, of course, before we really dive into what this week's topic is going to be about. I think this is going to be a good one. So of course, I want us to check in on ourselves where we are mentally, physically, emotionally, right? Let's not speed past that, right? Let's check in where we are, right? Have that conversation with yourself. Sit in your silence for a moment, right? Isolate it alone if you need to, and truly check in on where you are. Ask that question, have that conversation, right? Journal if you need to. This is your time and space to do that, and it's your reminder, right? And if you're in a space where you feel as though that you can't do that, well, you know what? Let's take a few deep breaths, right? Let's take a moment, because sometimes checking in ourselves is a little difficult when we're at the height of whatever moment it is. Take a few deep breaths, step away, go for a walk. Listen to this podcast in your ear as you are absorbing and taking in all the beautiful space that nature provides, right? Whatever you need to do. And of course, let's do our GGs, our grace and gratitudes. We cannot leave an episode or go into an episode without doing that. And in fact, this episode will really fall hard on that gratitude component of it all. So yes, let's go ahead and check in ourselves to do our GGs and come right back for this episode. So let's dive right into it, right? Now, this past week has been the most enlightening, eye-opening, and respectable week that I have had in a very long time. Being a working mother, there are different times or different seasons within your life where you are truly feeling like a working mother. Everything is happening at once. Motherhood is happening, your businesses are happening, your household is happening. And when I say happening, the things that make it what it is, right? That has it fall into that category of life, household needing to be cleaned, needing its maintenance, needing its attention, right? To your businesses growing and thriving, right? And needing all levels of boots on the ground, right? And then your children, they're growing, they're shaping, right? And they need just that much amount of extra attention from you, right? And everything just seems to be happening all at once. This past week was in fact that for me. I felt like my head was spinning. I felt like I was having a outer body experience. I don't know how, whatever you would call it here, but I was really in this space of what is going on and how do I get a grip on things? How did I survive it? Don't know, right? I don't know. Oftentimes as mom, we just go. As mothers, we just go. What do I mean by that? I mean, there is no book in play. There is no preparation that happens that tells you how to do it. You just go, right? And this week was that entirely. And so through those challenges, and as I thought about it, I was just like, these are the things that I have been asking about, dreaming for, praying about, right? These are the blessings. This is all that came into it, right? This is the thing, when we ask for things, right? When we pray for things, oftentimes we pray for the big outcome, right? But we don't think about the small details that come along with it, right? And sometimes we overlook those small details as headaches instead of saying those are victories. Those are wins. And so this week's episode is going to be about part of me counting those small wins. Now, in the past, we have talked about celebrating our wins, but I want to take us on a slightly different direction, because sometimes we only look at a win if it's a big one. if it's a big moment, if there is a monumental shift and change. We think about reaching the goal, making the money, finishing the project, getting the opportunity, or finally seeing the results of what we've been waiting on for a long time. But there is so much that happens before we ever get to that point. Now, here's the thing, a lot of stuff happens along the way that we oftentimes do not give ourselves credit for. We are so focused on where we're trying to go and we forget to look at how far we have come already. So, we're going to take a moment as we always do, and I'm going to break this down into three sections as we really dive into acknowledging those small wins. So, first one is small wins are still proof that you are moving and you're moving in the right direction. Here's what I think, right? I think sometimes we get discouraged because the progress, hear me out, does not look as big as we thought it would be. We may feel like we should be further along, doing more, making more, or seeing better results. But here's the thing about progress. Every progressional step, if you will, is not always going to be some huge monumental change, right? Sometimes you won't even see it. Sometimes you won't even feel the shift that is happening. However, we don't acknowledge it because it's not huge enough to be acknowledged, or at least that's what we think. Sometimes the win is that you finally made the phone call you've been putting off for a very long time, right? You finally left all that space of procrastination and said, hey, let's do this. That is a win. Sometimes a win is just completing that one thing that has been on your list, carried over day after day after day. Raise your hand if you had that experience, because my hand is all the way raised. Because as a mother, that happens. We lose track of time. Things start popping up. Kitties just pop up in the way, right? And then now that one thing gets carried over and over to the next days. Sometimes the one is simply you showed up when you really didn't feel like it. We really have to get out of the habit of not counting stuff because it's small. A small step is still movement. If you were to visualize it for a moment, if you was to do your first 5K run, right? And you think about the fact that, man, this is 3.6 miles? What is it? I should know this, right? But man, that is a lot of steps I'm going to have to take. How am I going to make it these 3 point whatever miles? Dang, this is a lot. Instead of taking that first step, and what follows after the first step, the next and the next. And you're just that much closer to your end goal than where you were when you were standing there complaining about it. And here's the thing, right? You still may have a long way to go. Let's have that visualization of the 5K, but you are not in the exact same space you were before. You learned something, you made an adjustment, you figured it out, you worked through it, right? You made that decision, you try it again. All of it counts. Which brings me into the next point is stop overlooking the things that used to be hard for you. Like we really have to get out of the habit of that, because here's the thing. This is something I think a lot of us do. Once we become comfortable with doing something, we forget that there was a time where we were nervous, overwhelmed, or felt that whatever it was completely out of reach. We get so used to our own growth, we stop recognizing it. I want to put it in this perspective, right? There may be something you're handling now, smooth, seamless, no problem, that used to be a challenge for you maybe 6 months or even a year ago. Motherhood is one of those things, right? When I had my first daughter, oh man, I'm like, this is a lot. Oh my goodness, overthought everything, like right? That's what I look like. And then when I had my second daughter, it was more, I'm not going to say smooth sailing. She absolutely tries me and her father and her sister at that time too. But it didn't become so complex. It was up. Well, she fell. She'll get back up. She's fine, right? Because you learned that these kids are relatively resilient, and them falling on their bum does not have to be a huge dramatized moment. Like, you don't have to be dramatic about it. Oftentimes they respond off of your reaction. And I would have never thought that 7 years ago, 6 years ago, when I had my first daughter, that I would ever be in a space of calm, being around something so little that I thought was so fragile. My 7-year-old now, if she would have fell, I was checking to make sure nothing was broken. My 1-year-old falls, not that I do not check, but the sense of urgency is different. I know what to look for. I know what to listen for. I know that if she fell on her bum bum, the diaper more than likely absorbed a lot of the blow. It's very different. But because I become so used to it, I don't acknowledge it. Here's one of the things that I think is such a heavy point, maybe even a sensitive point here, but one of the things that I have realized for myself is boundaries was one of the things that did not exist in my space. Kids, family, other people, whatever. But as I got older, oh man, how I have realized that boundaries is so significant and so important. But if you were to ask me this 5, 6 years ago, I would have never thought that I would have boundaries in place and actually stand by them. These are the small wins, the small victories. You have curated a space, you have curated a personality, you've curated someone right now that did not exist or have that confidence X amount of months or X amount of years ago. You have to acknowledge those things. Those are the small wins, the small victories. The thing that you was working towards, that you were praying for, hoping for, is not something that should be overlooked. You should acknowledge it in every capacity, from your day to day to whatever big step you take. You acknowledge it every single moment because those are wins too. Now, here goes point number 3. I want us to truly start counting the wins that nobody else sees. Not every win is going to be something you post. Not every win is going to come with a level of recognition, broad recognition at that. Sometimes we only acknowledge the wins that other people are willing to acknowledge for us. This is so real. We wait on someone to say good job before we tell ourselves good job. We wait for someone to reward us before we reward ourselves. We wait for someone to give us the confidence that we need in whatever we did before we tell ourselves, man, I did that. When we do things like that, we lose the power of truly celebrating ourselves, of creating a pattern, creating a routine, telling ourselves that this is what we want to do. This is what we want to keep doing. If you wait on someone to acknowledge you, to acknowledge your win, you may be waiting forever. And you never know how very simply acknowledging that you did something great, having a celebratory moment by yourself, in your room, by yourself, in your car, whatever, saying, I did that. I've learned to start doing that, being real with you. It took me so long to do that. Oftentimes, I needed the recognition of others. I needed someone to tell me what I did was good because to me, I think it's good, right? But if someone else thought it was mediocre, then I would very, very easily and very quickly shift my way of thinking towards whatever it was. Instead of flat out saying, girl, you've been working on this project for 3 months now. You finally finished. Celebrate it. Girl, take a moment and acknowledge it. You don't have to wait to go to someone and say, hey, look what I did, and wait for them to celebrate it with you. Because the reality is sometimes people are haters. And they won't celebrate with you intentionally because they know it's something that you accomplished, or let alone they know it's something that made you happy, that you're thrilled about. Do not allow your celebration, your emotions, your excitement to be dependent upon another person, even your spouse. Don't allow yourself to be in that trap of, I cannot celebrate this or I cannot acknowledge this unless someone else acknowledges it at the same capacity of which I see it, which can oftentimes be a very dangerous thing. If you think this was a level 10 celebration and someone comes with you with a 5, think about how that psychologically changes your way of thinking. It trains you to believe that your 10 is way less than, that you're going to have to do more than whatever you just did. Even though that might have been exceptional work, you have to do way more in order for it to be worth something. Do not depend on others to celebrate you. You celebrate in the just the confines of your own home, in your own space. You celebrate it, you recognize it, you acknowledge it. And celebrating it can be whatever you want. I was on TikTok Live rather the other day, and a person asked, "How do you celebrate your wins?" And I told them, listen, very simply, when something big happens for me, I'm not pressed to go out. I'm not pressed to spend a bunch of money. I don't even feel like I need to go on a huge trip or whatever. This is what I do. I sit in the house or order whatever food it is my heart desires. I don't care what it is. I put on my PJs, I put on the TV, and I just sit there and hope for silence and hope that my kids are asleep. Because normally I do it later at night when they're sleeping. And that for me is a win. Because 9 times out of 10, whatever I'm celebrating, it took all types of energy out of me that I have no energy to even go out to want to celebrate it. The quiet, the peace within my home, not having to answer to anybody is enough for me. And they were so astonished by that answer because society has trained us, and the saying society throws me out so much, but in general, we have been trained to believe that celebrations have to be just that huge, monumental, a lot of money, a lot of people, a lot of recognition. Big, small, whatever you accomplish, it has to be huge. And oftentimes we steer away from that. Either you don't have the finances to do it, or you don't know enough people to surround yourself with to celebrate it. So you don't do it at all. I want to encourage you to find that one thing that makes you super duper happy on a micro scale, right? Not huge. Something that is very tangible that you can get to immediately. Like if you got an email at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever, when everything is closed, whatever, right? And you was in your home, in your PJs, and you got it. What would you do? I want you to find something that you can do in that very moment. I don't care what it is. Have a dance party for yourself. Stay up a little later, read that book that you have been putting off, because now that you told yourself, I did this victory. You know what? I'm going to sit aside the time for me to actually do the things I want to do. Go to sleep early. Take a nap. Take the day off tomorrow. What is something you can do in that moment that you can promise yourself in that moment that you can do that doesn't take you above and beyond, outside of your financial reach, outside of your direct reach, that you can do? I want to challenge you with doing that. Something that is probably even just you, no one else. I want to challenge you to do that. All wins deserve to be celebrated. All wins deserve our attention. Condition yourself to do that so that when eventually you do get that big win, when you turn around and you look back, you're like, I only got here because the multiple small wins I was experiencing. Every step I took, every milestone I reached, I celebrated, I acknowledged it, because I wouldn't have gotten to this big win if I did not have those small wins. So celebrate them. They're deserving. They're worth it. All right. As always, I thank you guys so much for enjoying these episodes and coming back every single week. You guys are the reason why I do this here, and I love it so very much. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week. Make sure you come back next week for another topic, and thank you so much for being part of me.